I want to speak Arsenal for a moment here because there was a video. Have you guys seen the video that's gone viral today?
Is it the guy just sitting there talking?
Yeah, there's a video of a guy that sort of sorts cars out for people, and he's quite well known. He records conversations. He doesn't ever reveal who the person is or where they actually work, but people that phone up, I'm moving to the UK from America and want a Bentley, or I need this, I need that. And there was a call today stating that a German player is going to be moving to Arsenal soon, and Arsenal fans are convinced it's going to be Kimmich. You're obviously linked to Joshua Kimmich. I know you Arsenal fans have to run with this stuff. Do you remember when you were all following Isak around? You were following Isak around London like he was a Pokemon. Do you remember that? Do you think Kimmich is going to come to Arsenal, Gal? Do you think it's done like that video suggests?
I don't think so at all. I think sometimes we draw too many comparisons and just start talking about stuff. A German player joining Arsenal. Who else is German that we're linked to, though? That's true. There's not many Germans that we're linked to.
I've ordered a hat, by the way. Just for laugh.
Oh, the Haktua.
Haktua.
No, that
what
girl.
A video. What a woman.
Get her
on. Can we get her on?
Just on the Kimmich.
No, but on a serious note, if his wages are like 300K, would Arsenal eat that right away and just?
Yeah, I think you would.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if
Partey
goes,
transfer fee be?
Well, there's Sky Germany said it's under 35 million.
If it's reasonable,
29 years of age, can play in the six, can play right back if needed, is one of the most technical players that can control the game practically from any position on a football pitch. Was very good home and away against you. And Rice is now playing in the 8 and Partey's going. He's the sort of player that walks in and goes, all right, I've won league titles, I've won a Champions League. I'm probably about to win a Euros. He walks into that dressing room. That's the sort of signing Arsenal make to win something.
I'm not against it. I'm not saying for 1 second I'm against it. I'm just simply saying, could there be a situation where the club look at it and say, you know what? Hey, he's going to be garnering a £30 million transfer fee, potentially 300K a week. Would it be better for us to just go get, I don't know, somebody like Onana or somebody like Zubimendi instead? Would that be something that you think the club would look at, or do you think Kimmich is that much of a difference maker where they just say, you know,
he's that much of a difference maker? Like Liverpool looking at Edison as well as Zubimendi. Like there's DMs out there that are brilliant, but he's just that little bit better for me.
I think people rate like Bayern fans themselves. They don't rate disillusioned with Kimmich of the last while. They don't rate him. Like I think he's very much rated because of like the FIFA generation. He's high rated on FIFA. He's a nice name. He's won things. Ultimately, like I think anyone who'll give you an opinion on Kimmich, if you ask them truthfully, they sat down and watched the Bayern game, they'll probably tell you no outside of the Champions League. So I don't know. I don't know. I think it's a bit of a wishful thinking sign for the wages he could be on. I think Arsenal can do a lot better, and I don't think he suits like the project at Arsenal. I think coming in at 29 doesn't really suit the. He
could turn into our Thiago Alcantara, where all this hype and then ends up being slightly underwhelming, maybe due to injuries or other issues.
Thiago without the injuries would have been perfect. When he was fit, he was unbelievable. But yeah, I don't know. It could be shrewd, but I don't think the wages involved there can't allow it to be shrewd. That's a lot of money, like, you know, 300K potentially.
He could be a Casemiro too. You're right. Never know.
But I mean, I don't know if he's going to fall off that quickly. He's 29. He's not 32. But you have to be careful when you buy Bayern Munich players. When Man United signed Bastian Schweinsteiger, we got stung. Typically speaking, and I know they've gone through some turmoil in the last year or two. So, you know, we've got to be fair about that. But typically speaking, Bayern only let people go when they know they're surplus. Because would they be willing to let Musiala leave without offering him a groundbreaking deal? Probably not. But with Kimmich, it's almost like, okay, we'll let you go. We'll let you go. And that would be my only. I mean, I think he's a really good football player. So I'm being objective here when I say this, as opposed to what I feel. I feel like he's a really good player. I think he could elevate Arsenal. I think he's control on the ball. I think he's versatility. He can score goals. He can create. He can defend. I think he's absolutely amazing. But if I'm being objective about the situation, Bayern typically don't let players go they still feel have got real potency left in them. Maybe they feel he's been found out a bit. Maybe they feel that he's sort of tapped out a little. You've got to be mindful of that very rarely do Bayern Munich's, very rarely do Real Madrid's. Man City would go into that category right now. Very rarely do they sell, and Liverpool went into it for a while under Klopp. Very rarely are they letting players go in their peak or before their peak. It's normally after that they're allowed to leave. Man United in our pomp under Fergie, barring Cristiano Ronaldo, very few, and you probably could throw Stam into that because him and the manager fell out. Very few players leave.
Tevez.
Before or during the middle of their pick. Tevez, we never owned him. He was on loan. There's very little we could do about that. We probably made a mistake there.
Harry, do you think we're being used again?
No, I don't think you're being used. I think some Arsenal fans online are a bit too sensitive with that. I think you're probably in like I'm sort of in the middle of all these transfer stories. You hear some people that are like, most stories are nonsense. There's no links. It's just paper talk. The newspapers, typically speaking, are not making these stories up. They can't do it. Having worked alongside some of our partners on the Terrace for a long time, there is certain, I'll give you an example. There's a number of big aggregators that work with behind the scenes, you don't even know who they are, that work behind the scenes with Google, where if you're caught making things up, so what they will do is say you do a title of a story, which is Arsenal in talks with Kimmich, and it kills it and it's trending and everyone in the world is clicking on your website. The aggregators and the people behind the scenes may ask that newspaper to provide evidence that this is a true story. So publicly, they're not got to show off who their sources are, but behind the scenes, they've got to. And if a certain publication is proven to lie about its sources, they get marked down and pushed, and they get pushed down, which means they're not going to get seen. So when I hear people say that newspapers make it up, knowing what I know now through where I've worked, I don't think it's true. I know sometimes football players come out and say, this story isn't true. I've seen players, say things aren't true before, and then a few weeks later, they've signed for the club that the newspaper said they were linked to. So it's hard to know who to believe. But I think Arsenal are talking to a number of players. I think the story is for Williams. I think the story is for Eze. I think the story is for Gyökeres. I think all these stories are true to some degree. And as I say,
can they get away with partial in truth, though? Can they get away with yes, we spoke to Joshua Kimmich. Yes, we spoke to this guy. Yes.
But you've got to remember, but it isn't, and this is where I always challenge people that get angry about these stories. Terry, every day it's a different link, but it's not all from the same journalist, is it?
No.
If, for instance, Fabrizio come out today and said Arsenal's number one target is Williams, and then the next day said their number one target is Eze, and the next day said their number one target was Rashford, you go, hang on a minute, how comes it's changing every single day? But different journalists told different things from different sources. Our job as fans is to go, well, this is the story. This is the claim. What do you think? And it's not the media lying per se. It's different stories and different views. And then we basically have our own hierarchy to who gets it right more regularly. And what's really interesting is some publications don't care about being right in the end. In the sense of, say Arsenal are talking to Kimmich. Say Edu sends a WhatsApp message, which is how a lot of this is done, by the way, to the key decision maker at Bayern and says, would £20 million be enough? Now, that person at Bayern may speak to a German publication and say, Arsenal just put a bid in. So a German publication says, a bid's gone in. Fabrizio, this is all hypothetical, might contact Arsenal and say, have you put a bid in? And they go, no, we put no official bid in. And then Fabrizio says, no official bid from Arsenal's gone in. They're both somewhat telling the truth. The problem is with football fans is we try and make it like an exact science where, and this is the mad bit, we all, even the ones who hate transfer stories, ask for updates every day and every minute. And if you ask for updates every minute of every day,
you love it.
The stories are going to change quite regularly because these are moving negotiations where players, managers, agents, clubs are consistently changing their minds. An injury to one player at Copa America can have a domino effect to 7, 8, 9, 10 different clubs' transfer activity. And I think that for me, that's the element of the transfer window that annoys me, is that people sort of act like, well, this newspaper once upon a time said that Man United were interested in Caicedo and we never signed him, so therefore I can never trust them. I find that such a weird logic, personally. So I think you are looking at Kimmich. Do I believe this TikTok thing that's gone around, that it's done? No, I don't. I actually think the TikTok person who recorded it thinks it's true. I think someone's phoned them up and is taking the piss. That's my honest opinion. I think someone has phoned them as a prank call and they've shared it. Does that make sense? That's what I think's happened there. The guy talking, I don't know why. Maybe I'm being really disrespectful. He didn't sound like somebody that's got that connection and is doing that job. Personally.
Isn't Kimmich also like heavily linked with Manchester City as well. So he's got like two of the best teams in the country.
He's linked himself. He gave a list of teams: Real Madrid, Barcelona, Arsenal, Man City, and Liverpool. Those are the 5 teams that he's.
Real Madrid have got a good relationship with Bayern Munich, like Toni Kroos, David Alaba.
So do Barcelona. But at this moment in time, I think it's more of a list of teams that he would accept going to, and less than anything else.
How long has he got left in his contract?
I don't know. 1 year? Let me check.
5 minutes, I think.
I'm not sure. I was gonna ask as well, boys. Arsenal were linked to Eze. What do you make of that deal, Igao? Is that someone you want? Predominantly attacking midfield, can play on the left. According to Simon, and this is why this is such an interesting story. Simon Phillips, very credible in the Chelsea fan base. I said it on my video earlier on today. He isn't trying to gain Arsenal followers because his whole thing is Chelsea. But he said that you guys are the most serious in for him. You're pushing the hardest. And I'm paraphrasing slightly, but is maybe the most likely of all the other Premier League clubs. If that turns out to be the case, are you happy with that potential deal?
I like Eze. We would be bringing an academy player back home. I think he would count to our homegrown quota, and he definitely would give us so much versatility, being able to play in the midfield, being able to play in the wing position. He could be a backup for Saka, backup for Odegaard, and he would just give us so much more strength and depth. I think it would be a great signing. But I don't know how much the club is looking to spend this window, and if they spend 60 million on Eze, is that goodbye to a striker option? That's the only thing I'm thinking about, and I'm concerned about.
Do you need a striker though?
We might not necessarily need a striker if we strengthen enough in other areas where we can circumvent the need for a striker by having a lot of quality and depth in the midfield and in the wing positions. But right now, I don't know. I've just had my heart set on getting a striker, and us now looking at getting midfielders and wingers. It might be better for us, but could it hurt us in the long term? Getting if there is an opportunity for like for Isaac or something late in the window.
Well, my camera's froze for some reason. You scored 124 goals, I think, last year in all comps.
Like,
you need a striker.
I'm not saying goals is desperate. I'm just saying a striker would be that moment player to help us win the Champions League or some of those games that you're struggling in. For example, West Ham last season at home, we bury some of those goals if we have an Isaac in our team, for example.
Apologies, Mark. Can you guys still hear me? My Mac does this all the time. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Did you catch what I said, though?
Yeah, I get what you said, yeah. But, like, I mean, £60 million for Eze. I mean, it looks like Nketiah is potentially going for 50 million. You got Nelson being linked to move away. Gabriel Jesus, is he going to stay? Does Eze come in and improve things?
I think
I don't
know if we sell Jesus. I haven't. There's been interest, and if somebody does come in, I think the club would consider it. But at this moment in time, it's still very early in the window. I don't think Arsenal's going to do anything until July, and after the Euros when Eze comes back. If it's 60 million for Eze, maybe Crystal Palace would have to budge on their price tag a little bit. I don't know if Arsenal.
They won't though. Parish is notorious.
You never know.
Eze would be unbelievable.
It's a player's dream to play for Arsenal. He is an Arsenal academy boy. He said it before. His dream is to play for Arsenal, and he'll do anything to play for Arsenal. So
would you
say
Liverpool, Paddy?
Yeah, 100%.
I think, like, obviously the way you play now, the big question mark is going to be where he plays for Palace. Teams naturally come out against him. Moving to an Arsenal Liverpool where everyone sits in a low block is going to be, how does he get on? I think for Liverpool, I think it'd be a great signing. It's like £60 million. Yeah, you got to lump up 50 million of that up front, but he's homegrown.
Aren't you concerned? You're missing out on one of your number one targets.
I'd be furious. Yeah, I'd be smashing this living room up. If he joins you over the fact that we have been literally twerking for him for 18 months. He's under the same agency as literally 60% of our squad. The agents have obviously got the connections. Plus, when we played Crystal Palace, him and his family were in a box. He then scored against us the following day, doing all this modelling with Son. If he then goes and signs for you lot, I'd be, or Liverpool. Be more annoyed at obviously Arsenal because of the rivalry, but
I don't think
but it happens all the time. Aren't you used to it by now?
Well, yeah, but right now, like all the reports are that we're interested. So yeah, Arsenal apparently, according to other people, are pushing. But if you're Eze right now, you're probably picking Arsenal over most teams, aren't you? Because you're in a title race and you're much better than we are at the moment. So
if you're Eze and you came from the Arsenal's academy and your dream is to play for Arsenal, even when we were shit, you'd rather pick us over you.
Yeah, but like the thing is, like when people go, "Oh yeah, but he's an Arsenal fan." Jermaine Defoe was an Arsenal fan. He's one of the greatest goal scorers we've had.
Yeah,
Dejan Kulusevski's an Arsenal fan.
Arsenal never wanted him. Arsenal never wanted
We
him.
never wanted him. That's the
I
point.
know, but like people say, "Oh, but you know why are we linked with him? He supports him or him." I don't think players care that much.
Oh, that after a while, that gets out with players like who they
Wait,
support
he
as a
was an
kid is
Everton
irrelevant.
fan.
Jamie Carragher was an Everton fan.
Yeah,
Hey,
Massively.
Eden Hazard was an Arsenal fan and he went to Chelsea, so that just goes to show you.